The first screams came from the ocean. Not human screams, those came later, but the ships themselves, slicing through the waves and sky like jagged steel teeth. They were vast, impossibly vast, and yet they moved with a precision that suggested thought. From orbit, the world was a pinprick under their shadow, and in that shadow, humans watched and laughed. Or maybe they cried. It was hard to tell through the first haze of disbelief. The aliens did not announce themselves. They did not send emissaries. Instead, they struck at the softest, weakest parts of our world first. Our cities, our infrastructure, our sense of safety. One moment, the skyline was ours. The next, smoke coiled from every corner, lights flickered, and the streets filled with chaos. They mocked us silently in the way a predator mocks prey, confident in our inability to resist. Their first communique was simple, a single line repeated across every frequency in every language they could broadcast. Submit or be ended. Humanity responded the only way we could. Not with the armor of a galaxy-spanning fleet, we had none, but with a laugh. Not a laugh of joy, not even a laugh of hope. A laugh of defiance. A laugh that carried on the wind above bombed-out cities, past shattered highways, over oceans that reflected fires we had not yet had time to name. And the laugh was accompanied by one word repeated wherever humans could speak it. No, they did not understand. They had expected the fragility their sensors detected, the trembling that their calculations predicted. They had not factored in stubbornness. They had not calculated the human mind. Their first probing strike, an orbital weapon designed to vaporize a medium-sized city, hit a settlement on the outskirts of the Pacific Rim. The result was catastrophic. The city was gone. Smoke rose in monstrous plumes, and still elsewhere humans rebuilt. Still elsewhere humans fought back, in tiny improvised ways, with hammers, with fire, with sheer, bloody ingenuity. The first encounter on land was almost laughable. The alien patrol, sleek and bristling with instruments we could barely perceive, walked into a trap designed by farmers and engineers who had never met before in their lives. Steel, fire, and falling debris combined with human coordination that was chaotic on paper but flawless in execution. The aliens thought it a fluke. They thought it luck. And then the second patrol vanished in the same way. And the third, the fourth. And the laughter of humans echoed across ruined streets, sharp and bitter, cutting through their expectation of dominance. And yet, the aliens were not unskilled. Every failure was measured, analyzed, fed back into the next strike. Their arrogance was as sharp as their blades, their strategy flawless in execution. But what they could not compute, what no algorithm could ever account for, was that humans were not just reacting. We were learning. Pain became a teacher, and each scar etched into our skin was also etched into our minds. Every loss made us harder. Every death a spark. Every ruin a ladder to climb back up again. They began to speak to us directly after a week of failed occupation attempts. Their voices were everywhere at once, chirping, humming, metallic, insistent. Surrender. All resistance is meaningless. Every life you cling to is already counted and dismissed. And humanity's answer was unchanged. No. When they escalated, when the first planetary bombardment began, humans adapted. Bunkers, caves, underground tunnels, mobile fleets cobbled from fishing boats and scavenged aircraft. Theirs was a war of brute power. Ours was a war of persistence. They could destroy our cities, but they could not destroy our will. Each strike left evidence of survival, of ingenuity, of a species that would not bend. The aliens started to see patterns. Humans fought in ways that made no logical sense. Small groups ambushing superior forces, vanishing before the retaliation could land, leaving behind booby-trapped ruins and taunting messages scrawled across walls. Try harder. We don't break. No, it was then, in the silence between strikes, that the first doubt appeared in their ranks. Not fear yet, but confusion. They began to question the intelligence of the species they had labeled fragile. Perhaps fragile in body, yes. Fragile in skin, in bone, in muscle. But not in mind, not in will, not in the stubborn refusal to bend, not in the quiet rage that grows in the chest like molten iron. And somewhere in the chaos, a human child, no older than 10, looked at the remnants of a downed alien drone, picking through it with wide, curious eyes, and whispered, almost to herself, "You picked the wrong planet." It was a small moment, almost insignificant. But in the folds of the galaxy, moments like this add up. Moments like this twist the knife of expectation, erode confidence, and whisper warnings the arrogant cannot yet hear. The first true counterstrike came not from the military, not from the scientists, not from the leaders. It came from sheer necessity, from people who refused to die quietly. Underground, in the charred remains of a city square, humans detonated salvaged alien ordnance against an advancing patrol. It was reckless, it was chaotic, and it was terrifyingly effective. The aliens had underestimated the human capacity for improvisation, for turning even their own technology against them. Above, the sky burned, smoke tinted with unknown chemicals. The stars themselves seemed to blink, uncertain if they should look away. On the ground, humans stared at the fire. And for the first time, perhaps, the aliens stared back. And for the first time, with a sliver of unease twisting their certainty. And then the alien commander spoke across all channels at once, voice resonant, dripping with disbelief. "Why do you persist?" A single human voice answered, steady and clear across the static. "Because we don't surrender." Silence followed, and in that silence the first small cracks began to show in the alien armor of invincibility. But silence is dangerous. Silence hides thought, planning, and the first hints of fear. The next day, reconnaissance drones returned with footage that would have frozen any lesser species. Humans were gathering. Not fleeing, not hiding, gathering, every group. Every survivor, every fighter, converging with something that looked like randomness on the map, but had a terrible, growing logic to it. They did not know it yet. But the humans were forming something more than an army, something more than a resistance, something that did not bend, did not yield, and would not break. The alien commander watched the live feed, claws tapping on the console, metallic jaw clicking. "I cannot sustain this. They will die." And yet, across the world, in pockets of ruined cities, amidst fires and rubble, humans whispered the same words. "No, not today, not ever." In orbit, the alien commander's hands stilled. Something in their sensors, something in the human patterns, told them a truth they had never faced before. This species, the fragile one, the weak one, the one that should have crumbled, was something else entirely, something alien even to them. And then, before the commander could act, a new signal appeared. It was not from any known frequency, not from any known craft. It pulsed in a rhythm that suggested intelligence, movement, and a plan. Something had changed and the humans were at its center. The message was simple. It had no words, no threats, no demands, just a pattern repeating. And in that pattern was a warning. The hunt was over, but the real game was about to begin. The humans moved like shadows, but shadows with teeth. The alien command watched the patterns shift and tighten, and something inside them, a sterile confidence, hard as diamond, began to crack. Humans didn't just survive. They adapted, converged, and struck with precision that seemed impossible. Their movements were chaotic if you looked at them individually, but as a whole, they formed a logic no algorithm could decode. The first real confrontation of this phase was in the ruins of what had once been a thriving megacity. Skyscrapers, hollowed and blackened, leaned into each other like tired giants, and through the canyons of shattered concrete, Humans waited. They were fewer than the alien patrols, weaker on paper, naked to the technological might aimed at them. Yet they were everywhere and nowhere at once. From the upper floors of a collapsed tower, from the underground subway tunnels, from the twisted skeleton of a highway bridge, they struck. The aliens had expected fear, terror, the frantic attempts to flee that they had catalogued so easily in simulations. What they did not expect was laughter. Dry, sharp, bitter laughter that cut across the comm frequencies like a blade. Every strike was accompanied by taunts, by one-word messages etched onto walls in glowing spray. No, the clash was brutal. Energy beams scorched the concrete, alien claws tore through steel and flesh alike, but humans were fast, slippery, unpredictable. They improvised. They used the ruins as weapons, collapsing walls onto patrols, rigging fires to explode at precise moments, turning even alien technology against them. Each patrol that entered the city returned smaller, weaker, missing pieces, and sometimes not at all. Amid the chaos, a single human figure emerged. No uniform, no insignia, nothing but a helmet cracked across the visor, eyes burning with quiet fury. He moved like a storm, leading squads that seemed to materialize from nowhere. Every alien they encountered was met with a weapon improvised from ruin, a fire extinguisher as a bludgeon, a broken drone as a bomb, a car door as a shield. And through it all, the command saw it, recorded it, and could not explain it. Humans did not panic. They did not scream. They adapted, using pain and fear as fuel rather than surrender. The turning point came when a massive alien assault vehicle, the size of a small mountain bristling with artillery, entered the city to clear the resistance. It moved with crushing inevitability, its ground-shaking advance meant to sweep the humans away like ants beneath a boot. And yet, the humans were ready. From the rubble, they detonated a network of explosives that had been set up over days, weeks, unseen. The ground shook, concrete splintered, and the assault vehicle faltered. Its sensors flickered, its shield strained. And then the humans, small, fragile, defiant, struck at its joints, its engines, every vulnerable point the aliens thought was irrelevant. Sparks flew, flames erupted, and for the first time, the massive vehicle shuddered and began to fall. The aliens inside screamed, not for themselves, but in disbelief. How could something so weak, so fragile, strike so effectively? How could something so small dismantle what they considered invincible? The humans did not answer. They only struck again, and in that moment the alien commander realized the truth. These were not merely survivors. They were predators in disguise. The slow, grinding persistence, the ability to turn loss into strategy, pain into opportunity, fear into fuel. These were qualities the aliens had never encountered on a planetary scale. But understanding is only the first step. Action must follow. The alien commander ordered a retreat from the city, to regroup, to recalibrate, to find a way to counter something they could not yet grasp. And the humans, battered and bloodied, watched them leave. Their bodies ached, their limbs trembled, their eyes burned with smoke and fire. And yet they smiled, because no matter how vast the enemy, no matter how sharp the claws, no matter how crushing the armor, humans had already learned the first law of this new war. The predator underestimates the prey at its own peril. Still, the aliens were not beaten. They retreated to orbit, to their warships, to their calculations, to their arrogance. They brought with them horrors humans had not yet faced, weapons that could annihilate cities in seconds, sensors that could detect heartbeats from miles away, armies trained for millennia. They thought survival would be impossible. They thought persistence would crumble. And yet, the humans persisted. As night fell on the city, survivors gathered. They shared what little food they had, patched wounds, reinforced barricades, and whispered plans. The young leader, the one whose eyes burned through the visor cracks, spoke softly, but his words carried weight. They thought we would break. They thought we would surrender. Let's make sure they understand what happens when they're wrong. The first whispers of hope spread, fragile but fierce, like sparks racing across dry grass. And somewhere in the alien fleet above, the commander noticed patterns emerging in human coordination. Patterns that suggested not just resistance, but strategy. A realization struck them with terrifying clarity. Humans were learning faster than they could predict. Humans were improvising faster than their weapons could account for. Humans were enduring in ways the galaxy had never seen. And in the silence of the orbital command, the first sound of fear, a low, involuntary vibration, passed through the commander's senses. It was not loud, not even spoken, but it was there. And it was enough to make the first terrible admission. They had miscalculated. Then the transmission started. Alien patrols across the planet began reporting the same thing. Humans in tiny bands attacking where they were least expected. Humans dismantling supply lines, ambushing transport convoys, destroying communication arrays. Every action seemed random, but every action was devastating. The aliens had come to expect fear, panic, surrender. And yet every demand, every threat, every promise of annihilation was met with the same answer: no. And as the first orbital fleet began to reposition for a massive strike, humans, scattered and ragged, were already waiting in ambush positions they hadn't even mapped. The aliens did not see it coming. Not yet. A single human voice echoed across a ruined radio channel, steady and unshakable. "You're too late. We've already begun." The aliens froze, sensors twitching, claws gripping consoles, metallic teeth grinding in frustration. Something was wrong, something deep, something their calculations could not account for. A resistance not just surviving but thriving, evolving and laughing in the face of extinction. And then, in the center of the city's destroyed square, a light flickered. It pulsed, slow at first, then faster. Humans from every corner converged, drawn by it. And the aliens, scanning from orbit, could not understand what they were seeing. A pattern of movement that suggested not chaos, but a design. A human design. A trap, perhaps, or a weapon, or something else entirely. The commander leaned forward, claws pressing hard against the console. Every instinct screamed at them to retreat, to strike, to wait, to plan. And then the human voice came again over the comms. "You underestimated us. This ends tonight, or it begins in a way you will never recover from." The light pulsed brighter. Shadows shifted. Silence fell across the city, broken only by the distant groan of collapsing buildings. And somewhere, deep beneath the streets, humans were waiting. Waiting for the moment the predator thought it had won. And in that silence, a single question echoed through the alien fleet. What exactly were humans capable of when they refused to surrender? The humans didn't wait. They never waited. By the time the alien fleet had finished repositioning, the planet's surface was already alive with movement, with fire, with a logic the invaders could not pass. The ruins of the cities, twisted steel, blackened concrete, shattered glass, had become a battlefield designed not for survival, but for teaching a lesson. Nothing would be easy. Nothing would be quiet. Nothing would be surrendered. The first strike hit the outskirts of the alien supply hub. From hidden tunnels and ruined high-rises, humans rained destruction on convoys and patrols. Improvised explosives, scavenged alien tech, and sheer human cunning transformed the landscape into a killing field. Every pulse of alien sensors registered confusion. How could a species so fragile operate so efficiently, so unpredictably? And then, in the dead center of the attack, the young leader appeared again, moving like a phantom through the chaos. His presence was magnetic, rallying those around him, orchestrating strikes without maps, without hierarchies, without hesitation. A patrol of alien shock troops advanced toward a civilian sector, expecting easy suppression. Within minutes, they were ensnared. Traps detonated, walls collapsed, drones flew into their ranks, cutting, burning, disabling, and through it all, the humans laughed, not mockingly, but sharply, with an edge of triumph that made the aliens' metal teeth grind. The aliens struck back with everything they had: artillery, energy beams, chemical disruptors, and mechanical monstrosities designed to crush humans in seconds. Entire districts were leveled in moments. And yet, survivors emerged from the rubble, carrying the wounded, setting ambushes, turning lost streets into death traps. They moved with a persistence no weapon could eradicate. Pain, injury, loss, it fueled them instead of breaking them. Every scar added to the human mind's catalogue of strategy. Every death sharpened the instinct to fight. The turning point came when humans commandeered an alien transport craft mid-flight. A small, ragged team of fighters, no more than a dozen, somehow boarded the vessel through a breach in the hull, surviving energy pulses and clawed guards. Once inside, they turned the ship against the enemy, redirecting weapons toward alien formations below. Entire squads were destroyed in moments, and the invaders began to whisper in fear. Words they had never spoken to any prey before. Impossible. From orbit, the alien commander watched, calculating, recalculating, and failing to anticipate. Humans were not just reacting, they were learning, evolving, improvising. Their movements were unpredictable and yet disturbingly effective. Every assault the aliens launched returned with fewer units, fewer intact vehicles, fewer victories, and each time the humans gained confidence. Communication channels across the planet carried the same word over and over: no. It was defiance distilled into a single syllable. Every threat, every promise of annihilation, every plea to surrender was met the same way: no, not today, not ever, and the humans were not alone in their ingenuity. From the shadows, scientists, engineers, and civilians worked together, modifying weapons, hacking alien tech, creating traps that twisted alien expectations into deadly consequences. Explosions ripped through streets, energy beams collided mid-air, and the cityscape became a living, breathing testament to human ingenuity. Yet the aliens began to adapt as well. They sent reconnaissance units into areas humans had fortified, probing weaknesses, testing defenses, seeking patterns. But humans had no single pattern. Humans were fluid, chaotic, relentless. Each encounter left the aliens more uncertain, more afraid, and more aware that this species might be something the galaxy had never seen before. The first true psychological blow came when the young leader stood atop the remnants of a collapsed observation tower, broadcasting a single message across all intercepted alien channels. His voice was calm, controlled, carrying the weight of humanity itself. You expected obedience. You expected fear. You expected us to die quietly. You miscalculated. The alien fleet froze in orbit. Sensors twitched. Comms scrambled. Somewhere, deep within the command structure, a realization began to form, a terrifying, unprecedented thought. The prey they had hunted, mocked, and expected to extinguish was hunting them in return. And then came the ambush at the transport corridors. Humans had anticipated the next alien move, setting traps, creating diversions, and striking with precision. Alien convoys were annihilated before they could reach critical supply nodes. Entire units vanished in ways that left the surviving aliens rattled, muttering theories of traps, sabotage, and even sabotage within their own ranks. Pain was no longer a setback for humans, it was an instrument. Every loss taught them, every wound hardened them, Every destroyed settlement became a lesson in improvisation and endurance. The galaxy's greatest predators were learning something new. Endurance is more dangerous than speed. Persistence is more lethal than strength. And humans would not surrender. As night fell across the planet, fires still burning, shadows shifted with uncanny precision. Alien sensors detected movement, yet could not identify the origin. From the ruins, humans continued to strike, each attack a calculated risk, each ambush a masterpiece of improvised strategy. The aliens began to whisper among themselves, uncertainty creeping into their ranks for the first time. How could such a fragile species fight with such efficiency, such intelligence, such unbreakable will? The young leader's figure appeared again, silhouetted against the burning skyline. He raised his hand, signaling groups across the city. And then, from below, a tremor. Not from weapons fire, not from collapsing buildings. A deep, resonant vibration that even the alien instruments struggled to measure. Something massive, something unexpected, moving beneath the surface. The aliens did not see it coming. Not yet, and the humans, waiting in the shadows, whispered the same word into the darkness, into the frequencies, into the hearts of their enemies. No, the tremor grew. Dust rose from the streets, buildings cracked. Further, some collapsing entirely, but humans poured from the tunnels, converging on the epicenter with weapons, with resolve, with the ferocity of a species that had nothing left to lose and everything to prove. Above, the alien commander's sensors picked up the convergence. Every calculation screamed impossibility. And then a single realization struck like a lightning bolt. The humans were not just defending. They were preparing to strike back in a way that would change the course of the war forever. And in that instant, a signal unlike any the aliens had ever encountered pulsed through every sensor, every drone, every monitoring device, a pattern, rhythmic, intelligent, unstoppable. The aliens froze, claws tapping, jaws grinding. Somewhere, deep inside, the command knew that this was more than defiance. This was a promise. And then the ground exploded beneath them, not the humans, not yet, but something they had not anticipated, something ancient, something that had been waiting as quietly as humanity had waited, something that moved through the ruins with power and patience and the inevitability of a rising tide. The first alien voices, clipped, metallic, panicked, broadcast across all channels simultaneously. What is happening? The answer came not in words, but in movement, in fire, in the human refusal to yield, in the echoing pulse of a force they could not yet name. And in that moment, the alien commander understood something they had never allowed themselves to consider. The war was no longer theirs to win. The force beneath the ruins moved with a rhythm no alien sensor could decode. It rose from tunnels, collapsed subways, and forgotten industrial bunkers, a tide of machinery, ingenuity, and human ferocity fused together in a single, unstoppable surge. To the aliens it looked like chaos, but chaos here was a precision instrument sharpened on the whetstone of suffering and persistence. The first wave hit the alien forward base with no warning. Humans surged out of the shadows, riding makeshift, armored transports cobbled from scavenged tech and urban wreckage. Explosives ripped through walls, sending patrols screaming into the air. The aliens tried to respond with energy beams, but the humans anticipated every move, ducking behind debris, redirecting energy blasts back toward armored walkers, turning their own weapons into death traps. From above, the orbital fleet scanned the city, searching for a pattern, any pattern, to predict the next move. But humans weren't moving according to maps, formations, or doctrine. They moved according to instinct and intelligence combined, a chaotic brilliance. One team would appear on a rooftop to draw fire, another would emerge from a collapsed tunnel to strike the flank, another would jam communications mid-assault. By the time the aliens reacted, it was too late. The turning point came when humans commandeered an alien assault walker mid-battle. A small team, battered but precise, infiltrated the machine through a vent, bypassed the internal security systems, and turned the walker's weapons on the alien garrison. The explosion was monumental, throwing debris across half a city block. Survivors on both sides paused, stunned. Humans, ragged and bloodied, emerged from the smoke, and for the first time, the aliens glimpsed the terrifying calculus of human audacity. The weaker the body, the stronger the will. Every strike humans executed was accompanied by laughter or silence. No words wasted, no begging, no panic. The aliens had expected screams, pleas for mercy, the desperation of fragile prey. They found instead the grit of a species that had learned to turn every wound into a weapon, every fear into fuel, and every loss into strategy. In orbit, the alien commander's hands trembled slightly as reports streamed in. Entire patrols were gone, supply lines severed, command nodes destroyed, and casualties rising beyond expectation. They had calculated human fragility down to the last detail, yet here they were, bleeding, confused, faltering. And the humans didn't just resist, they countered. Every ambush, every improvised weapon, every audacious move challenged the aliens' assumptions, but the humans weren't just fighting, they were orchestrating something. From the rubble, signals pulsed in patterns the aliens could not decipher, networks of human communication flashing through hidden channels, guiding the assaults, predicting responses, calculating chaos. Every explosion, every strike, every ambush was a piece of a puzzle the aliens could not see in time. Then came the breach. From beneath the city, a mass of humans and machines surged upward, like the skeleton of the Earth itself, rising in revolt. Alien patrols found themselves surrounded on all sides by improvised armor, rigged drones, and humans moving with terrifying synchronization. The aliens fired, slashed, clawed, but the humans anticipated every move, drawing them deeper into traps, into streets that had been mapped by instinct, into corridors lined with explosives, ready to turn alien strength against itself. The first alien commander to fall screamed, a metallic echo that cut across comm channels. Others hesitated. Their formations broke. Confusion spread, then panic, then fear. The first real fear any alien had felt facing a species they had labeled fragile. The humans were not faster, not stronger, not armored, not clawed. They were persistent, relentless. They did not break. They did not flee. They did not surrender. And in that, the galaxy's greatest predators discovered vulnerability in a place they had never expected, the human will. The young leader moved through the battlefield like a ghost, his eyes burning beneath a cracked visor. Each step was calculated, each motion deliberate, each command minimal but devastatingly effective. He had no army. He had no fleet. He had improvisation, intuition, and the relentless hunger to survive, and it was enough. Patrols that had once inspired terror now fell apart, scattering into streets they no longer controlled. The aliens tried to rally, but the humans' ambushes were precise, brutal, unavoidable, and just when it seemed the city would be cleansed of alien forces entirely, the ground trembled. Not from human devices, not from alien weapons, but from something far larger moving beneath them. Sensors picked it up too late, a massive, subterranean machine, unlike any alien or human design, rising slowly from tunnels and old industrial lines. Its shape was monstrous, industrial and jagged, yet elegant in its destructive purpose. Humans didn't flinch, they did not hesitate. They moved toward it with coordinated urgency, almost as if they had been waiting for it all along. The alien commander in orbit watched, metal hands gripping the console, so hard veins popped, every algorithm screaming impossibility. The humans weren't just fighting, they were controlling, directing, orchestrating forces the aliens couldn't even begin to comprehend. And as the massive subterranean machine breached the surface, a single signal pulsed across all frequencies. Not a threat, not a warning, not a word, a rhythm, steady and commanding, emanating from the humans at its core. The aliens recoiled. They had seen resistance before. They had seen strategy. They had never seen resolve this pure, this coordinated, this terrifying. They had not prepared for humans wielding not just ingenuity, but inevitability itself. Then the humans struck in unison. From every direction, with every weapon, every trap, every improvised device, they converged on the alien positions. The subterranean machine moved with devastating force, crushing armored vehicles, sending waves of debris into alien ranks, forcing retreats and rerouting artillery fire. Alien communications were overwhelmed by static, panic, and the realization that humans were not merely surviving, they were orchestrating annihilation. The battlefield became a storm. Fires, explosions, collapsing structures, and human ingenuity collided with alien might. Each alien attempt to regroup was met with a new assault, a new ambush, a new form of attack that defied all their predictions. The humans' laughter, their silence, their simple no echoed through comms and over the rubble alike, striking deeper than any weapon, and yet, in the chaos, the alien commander realized something far worse than loss. This was not a battle. This was not a skirmish. This was a revelation. Humanity had found its strength, not in armor, not in weapons, not in numbers, but in its refusal to surrender, in its endurance, in its capacity to turn every setback into fuel, every wound into a weapon, and every death into strategy. And then, as the first wave of alien forces began to collapse under the combined pressure, a pulse of energy erupted from the massive subterranean machine, not directed outward, not at the humans, but upward, toward the alien fleet above. Sensors picked up a signal, a wave of interference, a pattern the aliens could not interpret. Ships trembled in orbit. Energy shields flared and collapsed. Weapons misfired. And across the planet, human voices whispered the same word, carrying on winds, through tunnels, over rubble, into the void. No. The alien commander froze, realization dawning like ice in their circuits. Humanity had not just survived. Humanity had risen. Humanity had fought back. And now, humans were about to show the galaxy exactly what they were capable of when they refused to surrender. And then the pulse of energy, massive, coherent, unstoppable, surged toward orbit. Every alien sensor flared red. Every drone went dark. Every ship trembled as the first wave of human-engineered power reached the fleet. And in the command deck, the alien commander whispered, a sound more human than metal. We miscalculated. The orbital fleet staggered, trembled, and for the first time, truly feared. The pulse from below, engineered, controlled, orchestrated by humans, ripped through shields, disrupted communications, and sent energy conduits sparking across every alien ship. They had prepared for fire, for resistance, for persistence, but never for this. Never for a species that could turn the very ground beneath them into a weapon. On the surface, humans moved like a tide. The ruined cities were alive with activity. Squads converged on alien positions, engineers rigged massive traps, civilians guided the wounded to hidden tunnels while delivering ammo, weapons, and instructions. Every action was coordinated, precise, and deadly. The alien patrols scrambled, claws and blades flashing, energy beams scarring the concrete, but every attack was anticipated, every move countered, every advance funneled into a calculated response. The young leader stood atop the remnants of a collapsed tower, helmet cracked, eyes glowing with fire. His hand swept in a gesture, and from every hidden corner, humans surged, riding scavenged vehicles, commandeered alien machinery, and improvised weapons. They struck at every flank simultaneously, turning alien formations into chaos. Armor clashed with steel, claws shredded metal plating. And humans fought not as units, but as singular, adaptive organisms. The first true turning point came when humans captured the alien central communication hub. It had been thought impenetrable, defended by hundreds of troops and fortified beyond measure. Yet the humans, with ragged determination, improvised ladders from debris, bypassed security nodes with hacked devices, and infiltrated the facility. Within minutes, the hub was turned against its owners. Sensors scrambled, drones misfired, orbital strikes targeted the wrong zones. The aliens realized, too late, that the battlefield was no longer theirs to command. From orbit, the alien commander watched in horror as entire patrols fell to coordinated human assaults. Convoys were destroyed before they could reach safety. Supply lines collapsed under precise ambushes, and everywhere humans whispered, laughed, or remained silent. Every no that echoed across communication channels struck deeper than any blade, any blast, any claw. Beneath the surface, the massive subterranean machine moved with terrifying precision. Part human ingenuity, part machine scavenged and rebuilt from alien tech, it smashed through defensive lines, demolished armored vehicles, and tore open strategic points in alien control. The aliens had never faced something like this, a force that combined brute power with human cunning, improvisation, and endurance. The tide shifted further when humans deployed captured alien ships against the fleet. Pilots, engineers, and volunteers, ordinary people who had learned to manipulate alien technology through desperation and ingenuity, turned the very instruments of oppression into weapons of liberation. Ships once thought invincible were destroyed by their own brethren. Drones malfunctioned, weapons misfired, and every strike by humans exacted a price no alien mind had calculated. The alien commander's panic grew. Systems failed, patrols disappeared, and the humans, fragile, ragged, wounded, were everywhere at once. They struck from rooftops, tunnels, alleyways, and commandeered vessels, a relentless force that could not be contained. Every failed assault, every miscalculation, every wounded soldier made the humans stronger. They learned, adapted, and struck again with renewed ferocity. And still, the aliens demanded surrender. Channels crackled with threats, with promises of annihilation, with mechanical certainty of dominance. But humanity responded in one voice, one unbreakable chorus. No, the subterranean machine rose higher, its massive arms tearing apart fortifications, creating breaches for humans to pour through. They did not panic. They did not hesitate. Every soldier, civilian, engineer, and fighter moved with an unspoken understanding. Endurance was their weapon, and pain only sharpened it. Then the real escalation began. Humans synchronized attacks across the planet. Cities that had survived bombardment became staging grounds for planetary strikes. Makeshift artillery fired salvaged alien weapons. Infantry wielded flamethrowers, explosive traps, and captured energy rifles with deadly accuracy. Every action was coordinated to collapse alien positions, misdirect their forces, and strike where the invaders least expected. The aliens, once predators, were now prey. Their formations fractured under continuous, unpredictable assaults. Commanders fell, units retreated, And through it all, humans pressed forward, unbroken, unyielding, unafraid. Pain, loss, destruction, it was all fuel. Every casualty strengthened resolve. Every failure sparked ingenuity. Every no carved a path toward victory. The alien commander realized with a hollowing dread that the battle for survival had turned into something else entirely, a war of inevitability. Humans were no longer simply defending. They were dictating the pace, defining the battlefield, and bending the rules the galaxy had taken for granted. Every prediction had failed. Every calculation was irrelevant. Humans were something entirely new, something uncontainable. And then came the signal, massive, coherent, emanating from the largest human-controlled machine. It pulsed across orbit, hitting every alien ship with a wave of energy that disrupted shields, scrambled targeting, and sent panic surging through their ranks. Ships collided, weapons misfired, and the once unassailable fleet trembled as humans pressed their advantage. From the ruins, humans surged into alien positions. They were everywhere at once, emerging from shadows, tunnels, rooftops, and commandeered vessels. Every alien weapon fired was met with improvisation, resistance, and counterattack. Every assault was turned back with brutal precision. And through it all, a single word echoed: no. The alien commander, trapped between collapsing forces, failing systems, and relentless human assaults, realized the unthinkable. Humanity was not fragile. Humanity was unbreakable. Pain, injury, loss, and fear were not weapons against them. They were tools the humans wielded with terrifying mastery. And just as the aliens braced for planetary annihilation, the young leader, standing atop a shattered communication tower, raised his hand. Around him, the humans paused for a heartbeat, synchronized in movement, breath, and intent. The pulse of energy from below reached its apex, spreading across the planet in waves that disrupted alien forces and reinforced human positions. The alien commander whispered, almost to himself, "We underestimated them." But no one answered. The humans were not listening. They were rising. The humans didn't pause. They never paused. Victory was not a moment. It was a motion, a force, an inevitability they carried through every ruined street, every shattered skyline, every tunnel and overpass. Alien forces, fractured and reeling, had no sanctuary, no shelter, no rhythm they could control. Humanity moved like a storm across the planet, chaotic, unrelenting, impossible to predict. The first major push was toward the orbital relay towers. Without them, the alien fleet was blind, isolated, unable to coordinate. Humans approached not with fleets, not with armor, but with improvisation so precise it seemed preternatural. Drones were hacked mid-flight, guided into relay antennas. Explosives rigged with jury-rigged triggers toppled communication towers. Every action was calculated, and yet no one human acted the same. Chaos had a design, and the aliens could not read it. Inside the orbital command, the alien commander's claws tapped on consoles until they bled through the metal plating. Every data stream screamed failure. Every calculation had been wrong. Humans, weak, fragile, ragged, were dismantling centuries of preparation in days. And they weren't just fighting, they were orchestrating. They were dictating the battlefield. They were shaping reality itself. The young leader moved at the center of it all. His eyes, glowing faintly through a cracked visor, swept across the ruins like a predator observing prey. Every human squad knew its task instinctively. Improvised armor was worn with a sense of purpose. Weapons, scavenged, handmade, salvaged from alien corpses, were wielded like extensions of will. Every step forward was deliberate, every movement calculated. The aliens had assumed weakness. They had assumed fear. They had assumed compliance. They had assumed wrong. The turning point came when humans breached the first orbital tower. The structure had been thought impenetrable, defended by dozens of elite alien warriors and layers of automated defenses. Yet humans, with their improvisation and adaptability, found every flaw. Explosives cut through bulkheads. Hijacked drones cleared patrols. The battle was chaotic, brutal, merciless, and every moment humans learned, adapted, and struck again. The alien command struggled to respond. Signals were jammed, weapons misfired, units moved in disarray. The fleet above trembled, unsure if it could rely on any single system. Every strike humans executed was unpredictable yet devastatingly effective. And the same word carried through every comm channel, every sensor ping, every ruined city street. No. As humans seized the orbital tower, another unexpected move reshaped the battlefield. From the deepest industrial tunnels, the massive subterranean machine, the one whose pulse had already disrupted the alien fleet, emerged fully. It towered over ruined streets, a hybrid of human ingenuity and salvaged alien technology. Its steps shook the ground. Its arms ripped through enemy fortifications. And it moved not randomly, but in synchrony with human squads, as if it were an extension of their collective will. The aliens attempted countermeasures. Energy beams, armored units, aerial drones, all converged on the machine. But humans had anticipated every move. Traps were laid, ambushes set, diversions in place. The machine absorbed damage, adapted, and struck back, leaving alien patrols in flames, debris, and chaos. The humans, pilots, engineers, civilians, fighters, worked in tandem, turning destruction into opportunity. And then the young leader issued a command. A single gesture, and the assault reached its apex. Orbital towers, relay nodes, forward bases, all were struck simultaneously. Humans moved with uncanny synchronization, collapsing alien positions before they could react. Entire patrols disappeared into improvised traps. Alien vehicles malfunctioned under hijacked control systems. And through it all, the humans were silent, or laughing, or whispering the same defiant word that had echoed through every battle. No, the alien commander's panic escalated into something almost human. Their calculations were useless. Every predicted outcome had failed. Every simulation had been shattered. And worst of all, every countermeasure only revealed the human's capacity to adapt faster, improvise harder, and strike more devastatingly. The prey they had underestimated was now orchestrating the hunt. From the orbital command, the fleet attempted one final measure, a concentrated strike on the humans' central positions. Energy beams tore through cities, fortifications were shattered, and explosions lit the night sky. Entire districts were vaporized. Alien forces moved in coordinated assault. And yet, humans persisted. They adapted mid-battle. They redirected energy, lured patrols into traps, and leveraged every loss into an advantage. Pain, destruction, and chaos were fuel. And humans, ragged and bleeding, pressed forward with relentless will. The young leader ascended a skyscraper still standing in the chaos, scanning the battlefield. Signals pulsed from the subterranean machine, connecting every human squad, every improvised weapon, every survivor into a synchronized network of devastating efficiency. The aliens realized with horror that they were being herded, maneuvered, and dismantled in real time by a force they could not predict. And then came the transmission. Not from a single human, not from a vehicle, not from the machine itself. It emanated simultaneously from every captured alien device, every hacked drone, every comm frequency humans had seized. The message was simple, chilling in its clarity. We don't surrender. Ever. The alien commander froze. For the first time, metal hands quivered. For the first time, teeth ground in panic. The fleet above, armored and monstrous, had never encountered a prey that refused to die, refused to break, refused to obey. And yet here they were, on a planet they had thought would crumble beneath them, being dismantled with weapons, ingenuity, and defiance they could not calculate. And just when the aliens thought the humans had reached the limits of endurance, the subterranean machine unleashed its final move. Massive energy conduits powered by salvaged alien tech and human ingenuity pulsed outward in synchronized waves. Shields flickered and failed. Drones misfired. Armor collapsed. Panic spread across the fleet. The humans had orchestrated a planetary strike from below, above, and within every structure still standing. The commander's voice, metallic and panicked, cut across the remaining comm channels. This was impossible. We miscalculated, but no one answered. The humans had already moved on. The next wave was not defense, not survival. It was offense. It was reclamation. It was a message written in fire, blood, and unyielding will, and in the ruins of what had once been a city, a single word echoed again, carried on winds, through rubble, and across empty streets where aliens had once thought victory certain. No. The battle had shifted. The hunters were now the hunted, and humanity, fragile, beaten, and defiant, was about to show the galaxy exactly what that meant. The alien command tower floated in orbit like a jewel, a city of steel and precision, untouchable and arrogant. From there, the invaders had directed decades of conquest, had calculated every battle, every weakness of every prey species they had hunted. They had assumed victory, assumed control, assumed the obedience of anything weaker, and they had underestimated humanity. On the planet below, humans moved with singular purpose. The ruined cities had become staging grounds, the tunnels beneath the surface arteries of resistance, the forests and wastelands hiding pockets of fighters ready to strike. Every squad was connected through networks of improvised communication, every strike synchronized, every ambush a lesson learned from the last. Pain, injury, and loss were no longer setbacks. They were fuel, sharpened into strategy. The young leader stood atop the ruins of a collapsed observatory, scanning the skies. Orbital weapons were still operational, yes, but disrupted, fractured. Shields flickered, relays misfired, drones went rogue. Humanity had seized initiative, turned the battlefield upside down, and now, for the first time, the command itself was vulnerable. The first wave of the assault was brutal and chaotic, precisely the way humans liked it. Captured alien vessels, reprogrammed, stripped and repurposed, plummeted through the atmosphere, skimming the edges of orbital defenses. Explosives detonated mid-flight, sending debris and fire raining across the orbital shields. Drones and automated sentries were neutralized by waves of hackers and engineers who moved like ghosts through ruined labs and factories. Every strike the aliens had planned was anticipated, countered, inverted. Then came the underground surge. From tunnels long abandoned and repurposed, massive machines, part human design, part scavenged alien tech, emerged into the cities. They smashed through fortifications, bulldozed through patrols, turned debris into weapons. Humans flowed behind them, coordinating attacks, dismantling alien positions, turning chaos into structured annihilation. The turning point came when the young leader, leading a small but elite strike team, boarded a captured alien shuttle mid-flight. Their target, the orbital command tower. Sensors flared, alarms blared, and the invaders realized too late that their control hub, the heart of their calculated domination, was being infiltrated by a species they had deemed weak, fragile and disposable. Inside the shuttle, humans moved with terrifying precision. Systems they had never seen before, controls designed for alien physiology, were manipulated through ingenuity and determination. Weapons were hijacked, shields overridden, and navigation rerouted. Every second brought them closer to the heart of the enemy, every motion calculated, every obstacle overcome. The orbital command sensed disruption but could not locate the source. Units scrambled, but the humans were ghosts, phantoms in steel and smoke. They moved through corridors designed to intimidate and destroy, and yet they pressed forward, unbroken, relentless, unstoppable. From the planet below, coordinated assaults drew remaining forces away. Ambushes, explosions, and improvised traps kept reinforcements pinned, fractured, confused. Every patrol, every defensive maneuver, every orbital strike was anticipated, countered, or inverted. Humanity's refusal to surrender had become a weapon more dangerous than any blade or cannon. And then, at the apex of the assault, the young leader reached the inner sanctum of the command tower. Security drones converged, weapons fired, energy beams scorched the walls, but humans had anticipated every step. They moved like shadows, like a tide that could not be stopped. Every strike, every dodge, every counter was precise. Every wound they took only fueled their determination. The alien commanders inside watched in disbelief as humans, ragged and bleeding, reached the control nodes. Systems overloaded, alarms cascaded, and the orbital network, the backbone of their strategy, their arrogance, their dominance, fractured under coordinated human action. Panic spread like wildfire. Every calculation, every plan, every prediction had failed. The prey they had underestimated was dismantling the predator's command from within. And then came the final realization. As the orbital command began to collapse, energy conduits burning and alarms screaming, the humans were not just attacking. They were asserting control. Every vessel, every drone, every captured machine was now a tool of human strategy. The invaders' own weapons had become instruments of their undoing. The young leader's voice, calm, steady, echoed across the remaining channels. You thought we would surrender. You thought we would break. You were wrong. The alien commander, metal fingers shaking over controls, could only stare as systems failed, shields collapsed, and communications erupted into chaos. The planet below pulsed with human life, ingenuity, and relentless will. Every surviving human fighter moved with purpose, a single organism connected by endurance, strategy, and defiance. And then the orbital command began to implode. Massive energy surges ripped through the structure, detonating weapons caches and core systems. Alarms blared, corridors twisted, and the invaders realized with a horror that had no name. Their center of power, their arrogance, their certainty, was falling. From below, humans watched the towers crumble. From the ruins, the massive subterranean machines advanced, coordinating with strike teams above ground. The young leader moved through the chaos, eyes scanning, directing, orchestrating. Every pulse, every movement, every strike reinforced a simple truth the aliens could no longer deny. Humanity did not surrender. And then, in the final moments before the command tower collapsed completely, a transmission crackled across all channels. It was not a threat, not a demand, not a warning. It was a single word carried across the void, across metal, across smoke and fire. No. The alien fleet froze in orbit. Ships trembled, sensors flickered, and commanders realized that the prey they had hunted, mocked, and dismissed had become a force beyond their calculations, beyond their understanding. The humans had not just survived, they had orchestrated the destruction of the enemy's central command. Silence fell, not just in orbit, but across every battlefield, every ruined street, every ambush site. The aliens had expected screams, fear, surrender. They had found only endurance, ingenuity, and the relentless will to survive. And in that silence a new fear was born. Humanity was not just resilient. Humanity was unstoppable. And in the ruins of the fallen command tower, as debris rained down and fires blazed, The young leader looked to the stars and whispered, not to the humans, not to the aliens, but to the galaxy itself. We don't surrender. The ruins of the cities glowed beneath a blood-red sky, fires burning where alien machines had tried and failed to crush human resistance. Smoke and ash twisted in the wind like a warning, but humans moved through the devastation with relentless purpose. They were no longer fighting just for survival. They were reclaiming, reshaping, and dominating every inch of ground the aliens had thought theirs. The remaining alien forces scrambled, broken and disoriented. Their patrols were fragmented, their vehicles commandeered, their technology hijacked. They attempted to regroup at fortified nodes, desperate to reassert some semblance of control. But every move they made had been anticipated. Every route was a trap. Every stronghold had already been compromised. Humans flowed like water through the ruins, pressing every advantage, exploiting every weakness. The young leader, standing atop a collapsed spire, scanned the battlefield. Networks of improvised communication pulsed across the city, linking every squad, every improvised artillery emplacement, every subterranean machine into a single, coordinated organism. Humans were everywhere at once, emerging from tunnels, rooftops, commandeered vehicles, and hidden alleyways. Every attack was synchronized, every ambush precise, and every counterstrike lethal. The first desperate countermeasure came from the alien leadership. They deployed orbital bombardments, hoping to decimate the human formations and sever their networks. Energy beams tore through ruined streets, detonating trapped vehicles and collapsing buildings. Smoke and fire filled the air, and yet humans pressed on. They adapted mid-strike, rerouted movements, redirected captured drones, and used debris as weapons. Every explosion became a lesson, every collapse a path for attack. Pain, loss, destruction, it fueled them. Then came the infiltration squads. Alien assassins, trained to eliminate leadership, slipped through cracks and shadows, aiming for human command centers and communication hubs. But humans anticipated them. Every entry point was watched, every signal monitored, every approach anticipated. When the assassins struck, they found not fear, but precision. They fell into traps, ambushes, and counterstrikes. Each encounter shredded their morale, leaving survivors in panic and disarray. The turning point came when the young leader, moving with a small elite strike team, targeted the alien leadership's forward command bunker. It was heavily fortified, bristling with weapons, drones, and defensive systems. Human ingenuity turned the defenses against themselves. Explosives rigged from scavenged tech demolished external barriers. Hijacked drones neutralized patrols. Every step into the bunker was calculated, adaptive, precise, and every human strike carried the unspoken defiance that had become their signature. No, inside the bunker, alien commanders struggled to coordinate. Systems overloaded, communications failed, and panic spread through their ranks. They attempted a counter-offensive, deploying remaining orbital units and elite ground forces to retake lost positions. But humans were already inside the defenses, redirecting the very weapons meant to destroy them. Alien machinery became instruments of its own undoing. From below, the massive subterranean machines advanced, crushing the last vestiges of fortified positions. Humans moved with them, coordinating attacks from rooftops, alleyways, and captured vehicles. The battlefield was alive with synchronized destruction, fire, steel, improvised explosives, and human ingenuity. Every alien advance was met with a counter, every tactic inverted, and every loss transformed into a lesson. And then a new threat emerged. From orbit, remaining alien ships converged, attempting to establish dominance through sheer firepower. Energy beams sliced through the skyline, artillery barrages tore through streets, and drones swarmed like locusts. But humans had anticipated this escalation. Captured ships engaged orbital units, hijacked drones, sabotaged fleets mid-flight, and subterranean machines projected massive electromagnetic pulses, disrupting targeting systems and shields. The alien commanders realized, too late, that the prey they had underestimated was not just surviving, they were dictating the terms of engagement. Humanity's endurance had become a weapon more powerful than claws, teeth, or armor. Pain had become fuel. Resistance had become strategy. And the defiance, the single, unbreakable word, echoed louder than any energy blast. No, the young leader, moving through the chaos like a ghost, coordinated the next phase. Every captured vehicle, every improvised weapon, every squad synchronized with the subterranean machines to consolidate control. Alien forces, panicked and fractured, were systematically dismantled. No strategy, no calculation, no technology could stop the humans' relentless advance. Then came the final escalation. The alien leadership, desperate and cornered, activated a contingency, a massive orbital bombardment aimed directly at the human-controlled zones, designed to flatten entire cityscapes and destroy the subterranean machines in one strike. Every sensor, every algorithm, every calculation predicted total annihilation. But humans were ready. Every evacuation route, every decoy, every rerouted signal had been prepared. And as the bombardment began, the subterranean machines absorbed and redirected the energy, turning the attack into a controlled demolition of alien positions rather than human forces. The aliens screamed through comm channels, their voices clipped and panicked. Their orbital fleet trembled. Their ground forces crumbled. The leadership, once confident, now faced the horrifying realization that humanity had not just survived, they had turned every weapon, every tactic, every strategy against them, and then, from the heart of the city, the young leader's voice cut across every remaining channel. Amplified and unmistakable, "We do not surrender, ever." Silence fell, not just on the battlefield, but across the command nodes, the orbital units, and the shattered alien machinery. The invaders had expected obedience, fear, and capitulation. They had received only endurance, ingenuity, and defiance. And in that silence, a new understanding spread. Humanity was not just resilient. Humanity was unstoppable. The final wave of human assaults consolidated planetary control. Orbital units were disabled or repurposed. Ground forces were shattered. Alien command structures lay in ruins. The planet once preyed upon now belonged to humans. And yet, the war was not over. From the scattered survivors, whispers emerged. The alien leadership would not yield easily. Desperation would breed cunning. Retreat would become strategy. And the humans knew that every victory was only a step toward a final confrontation that would test endurance, ingenuity, and will like never before above the ruins. The young leader surveyed the battlefield. Fires burned, machines moved, humans coordinated, and the aliens recoiled. For the first time, the galaxy had witnessed what it meant for fragile beings to refuse to break, to refuse to die, to refuse to surrender. The defiance, the ingenuity, the relentless persistence, all had reshaped the balance of power. And then, the last transmission from the alien command, fragmented and trembling, echoed through the remnants of the battlefield. "They cannot be stopped." The humans did not respond. They never needed to. They had already proven the truth. And the word that had carried them through every battle, every ambush, every loss, every triumph, echoed once more. No, the planet was quiet. Too quiet. Fires still burned, ruins still smoldered, and yet the humans moved with purpose, anticipating the next strike. Every street, every tunnel, every hidden alley had been secured, every squad linked through improvisation and instinct. They had won battles, toppled patrols, dismantled fortifications, and even broken the orbital command. But victory had never been static. The aliens had retreated into shadows, gathering, plotting, preparing, and humans knew that the true test was still coming. From the darkness beneath the surface, a signal pulsed. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it carried with it an intelligence that had survived everything humanity had thrown at it. The remaining alien leaders had consolidated forces, using the planet itself as a labyrinth to hide their command centers. Every sensor was jammed, every satellite blinded, and every drone corrupted. The humans had no map, no clear path, no advantage except what their ingenuity and instinct provided. The young leader moved through the ruins, eyes scanning, mind calculating possibilities. Every human fighter followed silently, weapons ready, minds sharpened by the battles already fought. They had learned to turn every weakness into strength, every wound into strategy. And now, faced with the unknown, that lesson was about to be tested at its limit. The first clash came in the forests outside the city. Alien squads emerged from the shadows, firing weapons designed to pierce improvised armor, designed to terrify, designed to kill. Humans ducked behind rubble and shattered trees, returning fire with salvaged energy rifles, explosive traps, and sheer cunning. The fight was brutal, close, intimate. Every shot mattered, every movement carried the weight of survival. Humans were bleeding, burned, and exhausted, but they pressed forward, relentless as ever. Then the subterranean force rose again. Massive, jagged, and terrifying, it moved through the ruins like a storm incarnate, guided by human hands and human will. Alien patrols were obliterated before they could react, weapons destroyed, armor twisted, morale shattered. The aliens had expected resistance. They had not expected this. They had not expected coordination, endurance, and the terrifying audacity of humans wielding what they could not understand. The turning point came when the young leader discovered the alien command's hidden node, deep, underground, a fortress carved into the bedrock, shielded from sensors, defended by elite warriors and automated traps. Humans had no maps, no plans, only instinct, improvisation, and determination. They infiltrated the tunnels, avoiding traps, bypassing patrols, and turning every obstacle into an advantage. The closer they got, the heavier the tension became. Every corner could conceal death, every shadow a strike. Inside the command node, the alien leadership panicked. Sensors flickered, automated defenses malfunctioned, and communications broke down. For the first time, they realized that their prey was not just resilient, it was smarter, faster, more adaptive than anything they had faced. Humans moved with purpose, turning destruction into strategy, chaos into order, and fear into fuel. The final assault was a maelstrom of ingenuity and courage. Humans rigged explosives, hijacked drones, and guided the massive subterranean machine through corridors of steel and concrete. Every alien counterattack was met with improvisation, every ambush inverted, every weapon turned against its owner. The corridors echoed with the clash of metal, the roar of engines, the hiss of energy weapons, and through it all, the humans advanced, unbroken, unstoppable, and then, as the young leader reached the core of the alien command, the final countermeasure was revealed. The aliens had constructed a massive energy array capable of obliterating the entire surface in a single pulse, a weapon designed to erase everything humans had fought for. Its hum vibrated through the walls, shaking the ground beneath their feet, radiating a heat that threatened to incinerate all life. The aliens believed that this final strike would end the rebellion, would reclaim dominance, would finally silence the defiance that had humiliated them for weeks. But humans did not flinch. Not one step back, not one hesitation. They had faced death, destruction, and despair before. Pain had sharpened them, endurance had hardened them, and defiance had forged them into something the galaxy had never seen before. With coordinated precision, they hijacked the energy array, rerouted its power, and redirected it back through the alien network. Every system overloaded, every weapon misfired, and panic tore through the leadership ranks. The aliens screamed, alarms blared, and the command node shook with the fury of their own weapon turned against them. Humans pressed forward, unyielding, orchestrating the collapse with ruthless efficiency. And then, in the moment before the structure erupted, the young leader raised his hand. The subterranean machine, the strike squads, the improvised weapons, all synchronized in a single, devastating motion. The explosions were colossal, shaking the tunnels, collapsing fortifications, and sending debris hurtling into the skies above. Alien forces scattered, trapped, and destroyed. The command node, once untouchable, lay in ruins. Every remaining system failed. Every remaining leader realized the same truth in that instant. Humanity would not surrender, would not break, and would not die. And yet, through the smoke, the rubble, and the chaos, a new pulse vibrated beneath the ground. Something else, something larger, something unexpected, human-guided but still terrifyingly alive, was moving. The humans had won this battle, dismantled the alien leadership, and taken control. But whatever was emerging from the depths promised to challenge them again, to test the limits of endurance, ingenuity, and will. The young leader's eyes glowed beneath his visor. His voice, calm, steady, cut through the ruins and the silence alike. "We don't surrender." The ground trembled, a low, resonant roar that vibrated through the bones of every human standing above. Dust and debris spiraled into the air, blurring the sky, twisting the ruins into a storm of shadow and fire. From the depths, something immense began to rise, an impossible silhouette against the chaos, moving with a power that made even the most battle-hardened humans pause. It was alive, not fully machine, not fully flesh, not fully anything the galaxy had ever catalogued, and humans, ragged, wounded, and bleeding, were at its center, guiding it, controlling it, commanding it with the precision of a species that refused to surrender. The aliens, scattered, shattered, and panicked, stared in disbelief. Their weapons, their fleets, their entire doctrine of domination was meaningless in the face of this. The massive figure stepped into the ruins, each movement tearing through rubble, each motion reshaping the battlefield. Its shadow fell over patrols, vehicles, and fortifications alike. Energy flared along its limbs, a fusion of salvaged alien technology and human engineering, amplified by the relentless ingenuity of those who refused to die. The young leader stood atop a crumbling spire, helmet cracked, visor reflecting the rising colossus. Around him, humans coordinated, a single organism of will and defiance. Every movement of the massive machine was synchronized with squads on the ground, drones in the sky, and improvised weapons in the streets. It was an extension of human endurance, persistence, and audacity, the very embodiment of a species that refused to bow, refused to break, refused to surrender. The first wave of alien survivors tried to mount a counterattack, but it was futile. Every assault was anticipated, every weapon neutralized or redirected, every advance funneled into traps meticulously designed by humans. Claws shredded against reinforced debris, energy blasts misfired, vehicles overturned, and morale collapsed. Panic spread faster than the humans could move. The prey had become the predator. The fragile had become indomitable. Then the massive figure moved. It struck not with speed, but with inevitability. Entire barricades collapsed, patrols were obliterated before they could react, and the aliens realized with a deep, creeping dread that this force was guided by minds they could not anticipate. Humans had taken what the universe had mocked as fragile, incapable, weak, and made it unstoppable. Every step of the colossal machine sent tremors of defiance across the battlefield. The alien command, shattered, attempted one last measure, a concentrated strike to obliterate the emerging force. Energy beams converged, missiles arced, and drones swarmed. But humans had anticipated it. The Colossus absorbed, deflected, and repurposed every attack, turning the aliens' greatest weapon against them. Ships collided, weapons detonated, and the aliens' panic became hysteria. The very tools of oppression were now instruments of their annihilation. From the chaos, humans advanced alongside their creation. Soldiers, engineers, and civilians, every human who had survived, endured, and adapted, moved in synchrony with the massive figure. Improvised weapons, salvaged alien tech, and sheer ingenuity created a tide of resistance the galaxy had never seen. Every no they uttered resonated across the battlefield, reverberating through the machines, through the rubble, and through the very souls of the invaders. The alien leadership, the last remnants of their once proud empire, faced the inevitable. Their confidence, arrogance, and certainty evaporated in the presence of a species that would not break. Every calculation had failed. Every strategy had been inverted. Every weapon had been turned against them. And for the first time, predators understood fear. The colossal figure moved through the battlefield, tearing down the final bastions of alien resistance. Humans surged behind it, a relentless wave of endurance and cunning. Energy flares illuminated the night, debris flew, and the cries of the defeated filled the air. The young leader watched it all, a calm eye in the storm, knowing this was the culmination of every sacrifice. Every wound, every no that had carried them this far. And then, as the last alien ship exploded in the sky, the massive figure paused. It stood over the battlefield, scarred, powerful, awe-inspiring, and the humans around it raised their voices in unison. A single defiant chorus carried over fire, rubble, and ruin. We don't surrender. Silence followed, absolute and complete, broken only by the wind and the distant crackle of burning ruins. The aliens were gone. The prey had not only survived, they had rewritten the rules of engagement, the understanding of power, the definition of strength itself. The fragile had become unstoppable. The beaten had become masters, and across the planet, across the battlefield, across the remnants of the shattered empire, the message was clear. Humanity would endure. Humanity would rise, and humanity would never, ever bow. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. The greatest weapon is not claws, teeth, or shields. The greatest weapon is persistence, ingenuity, and the unbreakable will to say no. And the humans, standing among ruins and fires, bleeding and exhausted but unbroken, whispered it again, one final time, echoing across the planet, the stars, and the universe itself. We don't surrender.